am. So just talking to the people on my channel. I'm here live with Mark Keyshawn Christopher, and he's now live. I'm Zoom with him on his channel, and I'm live with you folks here. So I'm I think you can hear me okay. I'm not sure how well you'll be able to hear Mark on my channel, but he is live on his channel for anybody that wants to get there and see both our faces. Hello, Mark. Christopher.
Hello. Hello, Ethan. And
Ah,
thank you very much for contacting me.
oh, thank you. And thank you for inviting me to be able to have this interview with you.
You're more
I'd
than
like this to
welcome.
be a, I'd like this to be a mutual interview.
Okay, so I get to interview you even though I know little or nothing about you, and I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. That's okay. Um, so I only found your videos about a month ago, and so I've been listening to your recent talks and a few of the older ones, and you talk very much the same things that I do about putting the power of the pen and paper, owning your authority, calling these parasites out, and so um, I'm 63 years old. And last year, about this time, I was only learning about a state constitution and a trust indenture. And that's really where in America, that's where our rights are. They're not in the US constitutions, any of them. They're in the state's constitutions. So I've got 48 state constitutions put together in a Word document, and I use that for my study material. And so I've done a lot. Um, One of the most powerful things I've done is create a one-page document. This is a affidavit. This is also a court of record document. You see, all these courts, these circuit courts, district courts, they're all administrative courts. And I think it's time for a new dictionary. I do. The word People don't understand the difference between legal and lawful. And there's a big difference. And I think the word legal should be redefined. I believe the word legal should be abrogated from the toxic language that we speak, no longer to be used almost like a curse word or a swear word, just a word that should not be part of everyday language. And it should be replaced with what it is: administrative. And if people would just understand that these are administrative courts and nobody has authority to administer over you unless you give away that power, which we can do, we can give up our rights. And the whole system is designed to trick us to give up our rights. The language that we speak is all about giving up our rights all through school, all our education, all our lives. People say, "Do you understand?" Well, what about saying, "Do you get it? Can you stand on it? Do you stand it?" And teach people to own their authority. Many people, including you, have been brainwashed in so many ways. And this toxic language that you speak of, those are your words, and I'm using them, toxic language, in my speak now. Um, so many people say, "Let me." So, for instance, I'm talking with you, and you have no control of the situation at all. I'm here, I'm completely responsible for myself, and I'm going to say, let me get this piece of paper over here. Let me show you. See, we didn't talk that way 30 years ago. The weatherman didn't say blah, 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 blah. Let me show you the weather. The weatherman would say blah, blah, blah. Now I'm going to show you the radar. Took responsibility for themselves. Everybody's saying, "Let me," for everything. So I'm teaching Americans how to own their authority. And this is a one-page document here, and it starts out, comes now Athens, one of the people. And my original one is, as seen in the Michigan Bill of Rights, Article 1, Section 1, Michigan Constitution, G. Juris in this court of record do make the following claims. And then I was detailing different ones for different states, and I thought there's got to be a way for me to create a generic notice of liability for all Americans. And I figured out the language for that. And I picked one of the most powerful constitutional provisions. I'm pretty sure it's from Indiana, Article 1, Section 1, and we the people have all power. And so one of the people I've seen in the several states, Indiana Constitution, Article 1, Section 1, blah, 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 right? So now what did I just do? People are concerned about claiming their identity, reclaiming their identity, live life claims, on and on and on. I did three things here before I even give testimony. I set my status, my standing, and my jurisdiction. All right, and then we go into detail, some detail about what a trespass is, and what the financial penalty is, and what the criminal penalty is, which is treason, charge of treason. And so this is unreviewable. I'm not property. Can you bring a case against me in a lawful court to make me your property or anybody's property? No. So since I'm not property, I'm not in contract with the state or agency, department, or division within the state. There's no contract. You can't produce a contract to administer me. No entity nor man has title over or ownership of a free man. And who's going to rebut that? How? Administering a free man is repugnant to his freedom, liberty, happiness, privacy, security, and life. I have not been declared incompetent. You have been noticed by one of the people. Please take further notice. I retain all rights to remedy and surrender none. And then with the verification of a public notary as jurat certificate, this is now a court of record document. This is more than a court of record document. It's an affidavit. And
there are certain things I can say about those things. If you want, Ethan, I can add some value to that if you want.
I do. I would just like to say, what I explain to people is this can be used in so many situations, any situation where you're dealing with a trespass. And our sheriffs are supposed to be constitutional. We're educated that they're constitutional. We elect them. They're not appointed. By Constitution, they would be the highest law enforcement official. However, we the people are the highest law enforcers, period. You can't have a created power that's greater than the creator. So I explain to people that the most powerful way to use this is to take it into your sheriff's lobby, and under their audio, their video, serve it on them and order them to contact all the bylaw police, all the policy officers, all those administrative officers, that road piracy is ended in this county. And that inform the sheriff that if one of these policy officers gets handed this piece of paper, and now he's got $100,000 fine and a charge of treason, and it's equally on his, who's ever responsible for him, it's equally on them as well. And he hasn't been noticed. Sheriff, you have culpability here. This road piracy must end, because to have to arrest, I like the way you get into word definitions, because I do that too. And I go to entomology, and arrest is to stop. So just for an American to be stopped a warrant needs to be issued from a grand jury of we the people. Because we have our three equal branches of government: legislative, judicial, and executive. So in the state, that's your governor, right? Above that is the sheriff. Above that is your grand jury of the people. Above that is your assemblyman. Assemblymen get together to create law, judicial and legislative law. Above that is we the people. And it's just that simple. But we've been so dumbed down, all of us. I didn't know any of this until, I mean, just in the last year. So I'll go ahead and yield. Please add some value, Mark. I'd love to give you the opportunity to speak on this.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Congratulations on, trying to work out what the hell's going on in your country, just as everybody else is in everybody else's country, because this is one piece of corruption identical in every manner in every country in the world where there's a letterbox. And I'll describe that to you later. You mentioned, for example, that people gave their power away. Well, they did give that power away. They gave it away in such a all-encompassing manner that is quite breathtaking. You see, when you went into the bank or when you took out a mortgage, which is a death pledge, that accompanied it, that mortgage, that credit card, that bank account, that voting registrar that you put your name to, accompanied what they call an all powers of attorney, or the general powers of attorney. That general powers of attorney gave them full custody of all decision makings over you. That includes your wife and children, as well as your genetic code, your blood, and your properties, what they call heritage. So, yes, the Americans did give it away. They quite literally gave it away. So, when you have people like Trump and, Biden for the general election, they openly told you, without the comedy show even, that your vote does not matter, because we're actually going to cast a vote on your behalf, because that's what the power of attorney does. It enables them to cast a vote on your behalf. So since you signed away, or you Americans, the Canadians, the Europeans, the British, they all signed away, quite literally, their powers. And that contract, that agreement, as it were, sits in the custody of the county coroner's office, albeit the county coroner's court. The county coroner's court is the one that distinguishes between that which is living and that which is dead, which is the department of the county, the deputy counters, sorry, I beg your pardon. The deputy coroner's court is the one that deals with dead entities. That is dead on paper. For people that have mortgages, credit cards, that power that signed away the all powers of attorney is recorded in the county coroner's office as a dead entity. And those people that have the ability to, should we say, contract their way in and out, what you call men and women, they're in the category of men and women. So the bureaucratic process actually starts with the county coroner. The county coroner runs the county court. The county court is what you call the administrative court. They appoint a sheriff. Full stop. You at no point ever elected a sheriff, a government officer, a president. You never elected anybody. Those votes, those positions never were counted because they cast the vote on your behalf. So let's just understand this bit. In your country, you have what is known as the electoral registrar, the electoral body, or the electoral college. The electoral college is very different from a vote. The electoral college appoints and they elect who that you should vote for. Electricity and votage are two different things. So they choose Obama, they choose Biden, they choose Trump, and then they say, well, we have elected, the word is electricity, we have elected them, Now you will get a chance to vote, which is a corporate instrument. So they're only giving you the power of a corporate instrument, like whether you want a McDonald's cheeseburger or McDonald's Big Mac or something. And even then, because the power of attorney allows them voting rights on your behalf as well, they decide how the vote should run. All the people are doing is just performing a kind of an ostentatious ceremony to give them the illusion that they put in Biden, they put in Trump, where your vote never counted because you don't have the ability to elect nor vote. Yeah, electricity is all three components of power: voltage, and voltage, the consumption of it. Voting comes from the word vote, and that is only one part of electricity. So yes, unfortunately, they did give it away, but that which can be done, that which was done with a pen, can be undone with a pen. And I think that's what you're saying, is that they have to undo these things. The other element, Ethan, what I would say is that, you see, the Constitution, the men and women on the planet in their private capacity, this is just conventional congruence that I'm speaking about, how the system works. Don't forget, I'm a chief federal postal court judge, so I know how the mechanism works because we work in it every single day. When men and women in their private capacity are living in their private capacity, there's only one law that governs all that. That is that you cannot do any harm to people, to anything actually. You can't tell lies, tell tales, make things up, anything that is harmful, what they call ill effects. They in fact have no constitution because you don't need no constitution. Constitutions by themselves are created by what is known as councils. Since you, Ethan, never was in a council, and no American here watching this was in a council, they don't have access to that constitution. The constitution was created by the so-called very poisonous, very toxic individuals that is now what you folks come to understand as being the 13 founding fathers. Okay, it was created for their own benefit. You are merely the service provider for that constitution. But you can treaty with it, you can agree with it, to be a member, if you like, of the 13 founding fathers. And that only took place a few hundred years ago. There were other constitutions in place. So what I'm saying is that the Americans, the Canadians, have come to understand they're actually a dangling participle verb in law, in voting, in commerce, in trafficking, in everything that you and I understand as just being what we are. They're actually only a dangling participle verb. It's just a carrot in front of the Americans' face to get them to plow the land, to build the business. And as you say, the administrative courts come in and suck the energy out of them, take their commercial value away, and they store it for themselves in that small group that you have now come to understand as being the toxic men and women that run the Americas. And I mean the Americas, the world as it were. And people can go to my website, find their names, who they are, and so on and so forth. Everything that comes out of my mouth is actually qualified. Yeah, so that's where the Americans stand. You see, the reason why I made myself available to the Canadians is because I saw a lady, in the front of the Canadian truckers, and some vile, disgusting thing with a uniform calling itself a policeman imagine this is a pepper sprayed that woman for just having something to say. When that happens, the police officers, the sheriffs, the courts, the governments all needs to be put under arrest by people. But as long as people are cowardly, they're not going to stand up. They're not going to ever put their pen to paper and put their creator seal on it to be able to say, this is the weight of my genetic code. This is the weight of everything that is my heritage. They're not going to do it. They rather get pepper sprayed. So that enraged me so much. I made a piece of technology that we use for the Canadians to use freely, as well as the Americans. And I put all that together, and I trained 100 or so Canadian truckers. And on a same day, on a second session on the same day, I did it for the Americans and the rest of the world. And that's the way to go forward, is because if people are just living under the presumption and assumption that their governments are not the most toxic thing in their lives, then they're just living a toxic American dream, as it were. It's a goddamn nightmare out there. Yeah, it's a nightmare.
It is. It's an absolute nightmare. And so the issue of law, and
I can answer that question, what law is.
I want to make a couple statements.
Yeah.
I want to explain a few things. And constitutions has been quite convoluted through the evil manipulators, the bar agents, the Democrats, the Jesuits, the puppets for the world, the dominant evil that has Vanguard and BlackRock, which my understanding is they have company sharing, so they're actually one. And they got about 13 families. How true that is, I'm not sure. However, it's the bar agents that have infiltrated virtually every aspect of society around the world, from learning institutions to education. The psyops that has been pulled off on us is unbelievable. And so if we can believe the history that the Americans fought the British for their freedom and won it and had a declaration of independence, and that during the time period of 1775 through 1789, the United States of America, with a capital T, a capital U, a capital S, and a capital A, was the lawful title of America. And states had been ratified under that lawful constitution. It was somewhere in the early 1780s. I'm not sure on the dates, because the information that I've been trying to digest has just come flooding in from so many different directions. The war had not truly ended from the enemy's point of view, from us Americans, as the libraries were burnt, the courthouses were burnt, and the White Houses were burnt. And this
buried. They were buried.
Had to do with the 13th Amendment, which would preclude anyone with any title or nobility from having an office. All these bar attorneys are esquires. That's okay. So this is when things took that turn, where the Americans were deceived and corrupted, forced maybe at the point of a bayonet. So ever since then, there has been this infiltration and manipulation and psyops to dumb us down. So over the generations, as the knowledge of those that were living at the times and understood the times faded away, books were burned, history teachings were not true, and this is where we find ourselves today. So there's a lot of things that are happening here in America. There's several national assemblies that I've gotten involved with
Since
some
the
of the,
Civil War, since the Civil War,
yeah,
you guys have been in perpetual state of war. And they might
yeah,
rephrase this as being a war on cancer. They might phrase this as a war on terrorism. They might say that they might paraphrase it and say things like, enemy combatants, because you Americans are now considered enemy combatants. So the point that I'm making is that at no point did American people, the people that is, that live on that landmass, ever seen a point of peace. It's always been from one point of battle to another, to always keep renewing that contract, because everything's contract, to keep the people in a perpetual state of conflict, which is now,
mhm,
we're seeing it again with Ukraine. I think around about 60% of the American population knows that it's all BS. Yeah, I've got students in Ukraine, and what they're telling me is that the guns that you are hearing are just rehearsals. The sirens going off are just the own government trying to scare their people. The media, and the people have to grasp this, the magnitude of the lie is so profound, the whole goddamn thing is a stage show. If a reporter is not under the penalty of perjury when he opens his mouth, as I am, and I am now with level with penalty of perjury, that means what comes out of my mouth is answerable. And if I'm telling lies, then of course I have to go to prison. That's how it works. A journalist has to take an oath to say that they're going to give you the bias. They're going to give you the facts and not be biased. Same as a correspondent. Reporters only talk about soap opera. That is actually the designation of the word reporter. It's about talking about soap opera. Soap opera is a stage show. So ABC, CNN, whatever news stations that you have in your country, they are lying to you. They're lying about everything. And that statement is so profound in the American psyche and in the British psyche, they go into a state of cognitive dissonance. No, I can't be possibly lied to on that level. Well, you bloody well are. Because if you pick up the phone and speak to a man or woman in the Ukraine, you will soon get the information, as I have done so. It's on my channel. So look, what I'm saying to you is that you and I, Ethan, we can sit here and talk about the magnitude of the lie. For 50 years we could sit here and talk about it, and we will still not get a closure on it, because they are liars. George Bush family is a liar. The Commonwealth is a liar. The Parliament is a liar. The law, spiritual and temporal, they're liars, and they are all liars. The legislative, the judicial, the executive, they are all liars, because they are openly telling you we are only acts, and we only pass acts. That's Shakespearean language to say it's a stage show. What is an act? When Parliament passes an act, when the Senate passes an act, what is it? It's an act. An act quite literally is me acting like I'm Snoopy Dog or something, or a cartoon character. It's in the words. Look up the words and you think, oh, that's an act. An act for actors. And that's what this is. It's a stage show where the Bar Association, which essentially provides the judicial services in virtually every country in the world, or what is commonly known as the Commonwealth, are only bringing in actors in commas. That's why then when they write to you, they always write to you in a fictitious name, what they call a legal fiction name. It's never the name that you was born with. It's always an alternative. Look up the envelope. Anybody that writes to you is writing to you as a pseudonym, as a handle, as a pen name, because the man has done nothing. So what they do is that they project their hostility upon yourself through the letterbox, hoping that you'll contract with them. Because once you pick up their fraudulent contract through the letterbox, they have proof of service, like going through a service processor. And that's how they catch you. And the admiralty courts, what you call the administrative courts, the governments, Biden, Trump, all these bullshitters, these BS people are playing that same game throughout the world. Yeah. Just think about it. Why is the Bar Association administrating your judicial services? Because you are all members of the Bar Association, because when you signed that power of attorney, it went to the Bar Association.
Well, actually, fraud eviscerates everything. And this is all fraud.
Yeah.
And,
a lie is a lie. A fraud is a fraud.
For contract to be valid, there has to be a full disclosure and
Correct.
consent. So it's a fraud. Fraud eviscerates everything. So once we get the men, male and female, to understand, to stand, to get it, that it's fraud, and fraud eviscerates everything, that levels the playing field in a manner that was unfathomable the minute before. So
Yeah.
our courts, the buildings aren't there. Our superior courts, that's the people's court here in America.
The Superior Court,
should
the
be
Superior
in-
Court, sorry,
Supreme
Ethan.
Court, the puny court. The Superior
Yeah.
Court's the people's court, right?
They're all punies. They're all punies.
So the Supreme Court's down here in the three levels, three equal branches of government in America by the Constitution, by the state constitution. Each state's a nation unto itself, and anything repugnant must be abrogated. So when the state constitutions were amended to say, was enacted that the United States Constitution, supreme law of the land, well, that was a deception and a fraud and treason. It's simply abrogated. It cannot stand as law. We have our state's constitutions, which give us our rights, and they come from natural law. And so if we have to go all the way back to natural law, that's where we go. I'm a free man. You cannot administer me. All these contracts were done in fraud. I'm bringing you into my court. So this is what I've done time after time again. So in
The Americans need to know, Ethan, that, as you said, they need to create their own court of record in conventional language and bypass the Bar Association and running to them and stop hiring solicitors and lawyers, because then you become a ward of the Bar Association's court. Look,
you're going to your enemy to ask for help.
Yeah.
It's insane.
And Americans are starting to wake up in a profound level, because this is what happens. This is what happens when you get lazy with extremely wicked people. You have their names. People in the US praise Kennedy. Do they even know what this freak is? JF Kennedy, they even know who he is? His name is written in the Bar Association. He is a bar member. Sole purpose is to lie to the American people, and yet he's worshipped. Same with Nelson Mandela. He's a bar associated member. His sole purpose was to poison every race in South Africa. Same with Gandhi. People in that country, they worship anything. They'll worship potatoes, and they'll worship anything, including men and women that actually are so toxic. And that's what he is. But people won't get it because they're too busy hero worshipping. And because of that, I'm not making any excuses for these people anymore. Oh, I didn't know. Okay, you didn't know. Now you know. Go and do something about it. Oh, no, Mark. Oh, no, Mark. Let Ethan do it. Oh, no. Let Mark do it. We won't do anything. We'll sit back. You hold our jacket. Ethan, look. I've been at this since 2008. I've taken on the goddamn pharmaceutical industry, the court system, the government system, and I'm still sitting here. I have my own court systems. We remove mortgages for people all over the world. Look, the point I'm making is that me and you can talk about for 50 years how bad the situation is.
I take action, Mark. I take action. This is what you're trying to teach Americans. See what I'm holding here? This is the court case. All right. I've done many, many court cases. Right? Proper service. I have all the records. I serve it on demand, and I hold court. And with these government servants, this is a contract, an affidavit, and change of terms. And I offer a remedy, and they all plead guilty to treason. The head of the DEA agrees charges of treason in an open court of record. The head of the United States Trademark Office and the examiner, okay, Gretchen Whitmer, our governor, our unlawful governor here in Michigan. People throw around words that they don't know what they mean, and people are trapped in words that they don't know what they mean. And I hear a lot of people in the freedom movement saying de facto and de jure, and I think they don't know what they mean. If I got it right, de jure is lawful and de facto is unlawful. And
that is by connotation. That is by connotation, and you can claim that on the rules of congruence, because that's coming out of your mouth in good faith. But what it actually means in forensics of the word, what they call passe syntax, de jure means no jury, as in decapitated. De means no, and de facto actually means no fact, as in de means no fact. Facto means it's Latin for fact. So from day one, the language has been so toxified that the only way to grasp it is to understand what it means and to be able to use it to your advantage under the rules of congruence. And then when you accomplish that and you understand how the words work, you might be able to comprehend David Wayne Miller's language technology, which is something that we work with on a daily basis, which is quantum language. So what I'm saying to people is that to just to look at the history of words, or even just what comes out of your mouth, if you just look it up, it's not what you think it means. The news station is not what you think it means. Nothing is what you think it means. It's the American people have been slapped in the face now for 2 years, forced to be woken up. And they have to wake up and realize, my God, this government has done such wickedness on our name, on the back of our names, that we got no option but to arrest the sheriffs, the judges in your country, Washington, D.C. All of these freaks needs to be shut down because, as you said, they are quite literally toxic to your life. Yeah. That's what they need to go for. That's what the Canadians are up to. They realize the greatest enemy in their life is that freakish thing called their government, their de facto corporate government.
Right. So thank you for giving some clarification on those words. So you're right about the sheriff. As the prosecutor, I approached the sheriff here in Kalkaska County, Patrick Whiteford, Kalkaska County Sheriff. The man refuses to meet with me. He's been refusing to meet with me ever since I started asking. So I went into the sheriff's and I demanded to speak with him. And ultimately, I ended up speaking with the jail sergeant, but he was presented to me as the undersheriff. I was told I could talk with the undersheriff. Eventually, after a lot of insisting and refusing to leave. So I was there as a prosecutor with arrest order and order for jail for several individuals, including Gretchen Whitmer. She's an experienced bar attorney, experienced prosecuting attorney, member of associate member of a law group. Yet I bet that's the first time she's ever been in a open court of record. And so that was on June 28th last year. The Kalkaska County prosecutor's name was also involved in this. Now, 2 weeks later, the FBI is here in Michigan, and at the time it looked like they were breaking up a kidnapping plot. You fast forward to today, it's very obvious it was all FBI. That's the power, you see. That she panicked, and I had video out reading the first part of her court case, and I'm expressing my displeasure, but I presented myself so well at the sheriff's department that they know that they cannot trap me in their administrative courts. No way, no how. And I'll go against any judge, any justice, any law professor. So the FBI needed some type of a way to get me. See, and I believe this was all orchestrated because they were going to then tie that video that I made to me, and then they would have planted all kind of evidence here on the property and in my devices, and we wouldn't be talking today. But greater powers intervened. Now, July 31st, this is June 28th, July 31st was the Kalkaska County prosecutor, Michael Perot. That was his last day. He boot scoot boogied in the middle of his third term. And when we serve paper on these people, they crumble. Some of the people that have been following my teachings, we've got some very good videos of these people just crumbling when you bring them into your court. They are terrified.
So, that they know people like you are emerging and popping up all over the world in your thousands. They know this. They know their days are numbered. I would even say hours, really, not even days, because everything is going in public. There isn't going to be. It's what they call NFTs. It's what they call decentralized. Your government, the Senate, the judiciary, the sheriff, they're all going to be decentralized, which means everybody's going to be seeing what bribes they're taking, what bribes they're not taking, what their conduct is. It's all going to be on blockchain. And that's what they're frightened of. They're so frightened of it that they make movies after movies to let you know if this ever happens, the computer world will take you over. Like the Matrix, like the Terminator movies. All to make you so frightened of a simple technology that actually keeps check what everybody's doing, like a mathematical formula. They're frightened of everything. They're frightened of you. They're frightened of me. They're frightened of a computer program. Mostly, they are frightened of men and women that know how to use this and know the weight of their own seal, which is this: thumbprint, fingerprint, ear print, lip print, DNA print, whatever it is. That is something that they cannot ever escape, because these are the boundaries that they are not allowed to enter. Yeah. So they know it's coming. They know they're going to go to prison. They believe just because they got away with it for 20 years, raping and pillaging, that they're going to get away with it for another 20 years. People, it's the nature of all thieves. It's the nature of all these types of sycophants and narcissists and psychopaths to believe that their world is infinite and they're able to lie infinite ways and to get away with it. The American people are waking up, and they're gonna approach them saying, this is a hangman's noose. Do you want to get in it voluntarily, or are we going to stick it on you? Yeah, that's the point it's become. That's called zero tolerance, and that's in law. Because if you ever tolerate a sheriff, a judge, a government, president, prime minister, corporation, McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken, health ministers, if you ever tolerate levels of wickedness, then you are party to that crime, misprision of treason, of a felony in your country.
No treason, and not call it out is treason.
Correct. It means you're also a coward. You know, a woman gets raped, you see it, you get frightened, so you run away. Nobody respects a coward. You know, nobody respects a coward. So that's what that is. And the Americans have been lied to successfully, but their moment of waking up has already happened. They can't stop it now. It's cascading where men and women are realizing who they are and what they are. For the cowardly, they'll just simply wither away and die. And I have no problems with that. Let them wither away, die. You know, who needs a coward in our lives?
Right, right. Yeah, no, we need strong men, and the male race in America has been emasculated by campaign, by
Yeah,
the food, by the culture, by the education, to just be weak, weak-minded, weak-bodied, and cowering in fear. And the competition has been taken out. So I'm a grandfather now, but when my children were in school, they were taking competition out. So the kids would go out and run, and there isn't a first place, a second place, and so on, and a last place. Everybody gets a participation badge. Ah, good job participating. Now go shut up and sit down over there. So
look,
my generation, we learned what it was like to be a loser, to be last place today, but maybe 2 years later be first place or second place. We knew what it was like to have that feeling of being a winner and a loser, and how just because it's this way today doesn't mean it's not going to be different tomorrow. And it's up to you. It's up to you to stand. It's up to you to fight. It's up to you to face the bully. You let the bully
correct.
bully you, he's going to keep bullying. But you punch that bully in the face, it don't matter
Because he
how
knows
big
there's a
he is.
fight on his hands.
When I put my babies on my lap for the, I mean, uh, it, it was that point in my life I realized just how much a little body can hurt a very big body. You know, it's
Yeah.
not that I did, but I experienced it, you know. So uh, it's just so important. So there is a lot going on here, Mark, and I have I've held court with all these people, so many of them. So the Calcasieu County Sheriff's not going to arrest the governor. So where do I go from there?
The
Well, I
only
go to
person,
Camp. Oh, yeah, I want to
the
tell you
only
about that.
individual, the only individual that has arresting powers is your county coroner.
Whoa, no, we don't have coroners in Michigan. They've been abrogated. They're out of the system. They've been replaced with a medical examiner.
Okay, well, that's good. That's good because that means the corona. The word corona means coroner. The word coroner means the word crown. The word crown are all the one and the same way to say that the power is in your hands. It's now for you to go out and exercise it. Simple as that. Yeah. And look, Ethan, what I would like to end on this is that what you Americans and the Canadians and the rest of the world have to comprehend fully is that the men with guns want you to surrender your guns.
Oh,
That's the situation that you're in. Men
yes.
with guns want you to surrender your guns so they can victimize you. Yeah. You know, for the third time, please, Americans, understand this. The men with guns are the ones that want you to surrender your guns. Period.
So there's quite a bit that I want to share on this, and I can do it condensed as possible, and we can come back to any point. But so from there, well, what do? I'm back reading the Constitution. Well, the military is underneath civil, and we're at war. Our governor has admitted to warring with people. in a public court of record. We don't have law enforcement with our sheriffs, this corporate,
You
this whole piece.
you get together,
So
form councils, and the councils can go out and elect sheriffs, and that sheriff of the people can go and pick up the corporate sheriff and put him under arrest.
we understand that. And so Mark, we are so much on the same page here. And it's I just want to explain some more. So I went to the military and I brought 3 garrison commanders into court. Apparently one of them is a brigadier general. I'm not confirmed on that 100%, but they all agree to charge of treason. So where do I go from there? I go back to the Constitution. We have all power. So our sheriffs are limited in their jurisdiction to their county. Well, when I went to the military, I went as the executive emergency manager. Okay, I took the position of executive emergency manager in war to the military because our governor is warring with the people. You see, I have proof of gum tissue rejuvenation. And within literally days of me having the proof in my hand from an independent dentist that I didn't know, the servants came down on me hard. And
I would love you to share that knowledge with me because I've got receding gums, you know.
Okay, I will. So this was in 2015. Now, the National Institute of Health ignored my my submission, my evidence. A whole lot of oppression and suppression happened. That so that was December 2015. January, I went to Washington State. It was the only state in the union that was offering a marijuana research license. I pulled into a little town. I went to a city council, city meeting, city town hall meeting. They introduced me to the Pacific Economic Development group. They introduced me to a congressman and a senator, and I had submitted to the licensing authority, and I'm looking for financing to get the research, the proof scientifically. And so now it's sometime mid to late February 2016. And I get a call here from Kalkaska from the scumbag bar attorney, Scott Isles, who's supposedly my defense attorney. Says, I just got off the phone with the prosecutor. There's going to be no charges. If you want to come back to Michigan, it's safe for you. So I said, well, I'm out here. I'm doing this, thank you very much. Well, within a couple of weeks, they pulled the research license. Well, I come back to Michigan and I find my brother on his deathbed. My wife had filed divorce on me. I need to deal with that. My brother passed. My wife and I are back together. It's now May, and the servants come and arrest me and charge me with multiple felonies, right? They've already destroyed my business, stole my guns, stole my money, stole my vehicles, destroyed my life. And they did that all ignoring the court order. The court order was to come and get everything marijuana. Well, they left almost everything marijuana. I literally ordered a 5-yard dumpster for all the things that I lawfully could have. However, in that situation would be very damning for me to have. They had taken my processing equipment out of the 30-foot triple axle trailer that they took and set the processing equipment out there neatly. You see, at that point in time here in northern Michigan, raids were happening and shops were reopening while their court cases were still pending. And so they expected me to just reopen, right? So when they come back to raid me again, I didn't learn anything. Look how much bigger you are now, right? That kind of thing. But I didn't fall for their stupid trap. I knew I had something really valuable, and I knew I could had an opportunity to do research in Washington State. So May, they arrest me, and that very same month, the National Institute of Health funds $1.8 billion to rejuvenate gum tissue, but they do it under a fake title. They do it under the title revolutionizing the root canal because they don't want to get my attention. But they had my attention because every root canal tooth is a toxic tooth. It's the cause of 90% of heart attacks, most breast cancers, is a cause of can be a cause of virtually any inflammatory disease.
Ethan, you know how many times I've heard these things? When they hear about somebody's got something like this, they steal it off you. They go and prop it up in the stock market. They have you arrested. And before you know it, an identical business that was actually should be yours is rigged up in your place. You know, so I thought I'd say that. You know, please carry on.
Okay. So, I'm telling two stories at this point. So, I'm following the study because it's really got my attention because a root canal tooth is a toxic tooth. And my toxic tooth caused me to live with over 27 chronic conditions for over 30 years. It started with migraine headaches, and I had 50 to 60 migraine headaches a year for 30 years. I'm raising a family. My family's dependent on me. I'm running a business. My customers are dependent on me. My employers are dependent on me. And once a week, I'm down with a migraine. And the next day, I'm suffering with a migraine hangover. And this is just one of 27 chronic diseases that developed because of this dang tooth. And I was literally on my deathbed. I was down to 130 pounds. I was sweating 24 hours a day, sleeping 18 hours a day. My nails were as thin as paper. My body was heavily fungus infected. I was checking out. And I got gum tissue rejuvenation throughout my entire mouth, except one area looked really bad. So I started asking a lot of questions. And dentists didn't want to pull that tooth. Oh, there's no sign there's anything wrong with that tooth. Oh, I got pictures of it. It was ugly. Anyways, you have 2 to 6 miles of tubule in the root of your tooth, according to the information that I get from guys like Dr. Thomas Levy, where bacteria can fit 5 side by side. Every root canal tooth is a toxic tooth. Weston Price proved this in the early 1900s. Government destroyed him for it, just like they destroyed William Reif for healing with frequency. So they're out to destroy me. And so as it turns out, in the fall of 2018, the examiner for my patent case, which had been being dogged, attacks my patent case, contacts my patent attorney, wants me to drop all my claims, and he recommends a claim. He's going to recommend a claim that he thinks will issue. Well, at that point in time, I had patent experience, but I've been dealing with utility patents. Now I'm dealing with a biochemical patent. I know what I told that patent attorney, but to read what he wrote, that's an entirely different thing. So now I'm in shock. I'm looking at this claim that this the examiner's offering. Well, it turns out it was a toxic poison. Ultimately, my patent was denied. However, I had entered into an NDA with a man who was a genius, a scientist, a patent attorney, and a cannabis guy. And he said to me, he says, looks like you're on your way to issue, referring to the patent, and you have many patents in your original filing to pursue. So when I'm denied, I tell my patent attorney, again, I don't feel like I'm on a level playing field. And this is why. And he said, you're not. Oh, great. So now what? More money, right? More treason. He's a treasonous piece of shit. He wasn't representing me this whole dang time, right? And so ultimately, I won. I won my patent, and it's my last chance for international patent rights. It's and I've been struggling for this, but they keep me in poverty, right? The system has just kept me in poverty. And so, but now my patent's issued, so I contact cannabis attorneys here in Michigan, where we've had legal cannabis for over 10 years, recreational and medical. What did I do? I stepped right into the trap. They didn't want me to have my international patents. So I've got so many bad actors. We even have international banking which I need investigation into, I need help into, because in December 2017, a Canadian group agreed to work with me, and they had marijuana business in Canada, and they were setting up in Jamaica, and then the United States government froze their bank accounts at one point. So that put a big monkey wrench in. Once they got past that, and now it's like over a year later, and I actually go to Jamaica, they have nothing but trouble with the licensing authority from that point forward. So in June 2019, I come back from Jamaica broke and no further ahead. And people live in fear. So I have sued some very prominent people, from the military to the governor to the head of the DEA, the head of the USPTO, and people are afraid to have any association with me. To give me a thumbs up, oh, they got to have some cojones. To give a comment or to donate $1, oh man, that's a man with a steel spine and a lot of faith, because people are just absolutely petrified to take action. They're okay to drive across the country to a foreign land and honk their horns at the enemy. They're okay to send in complaints. What about holding that man to account in court, your court? And this is what we're teaching. So, so after the 3 garrison commanders failed, I was in contact with the People's Bureau of Investigation, and this is Tim Dever and Rob Emerson, a couple of great men, and they one drove from the east side of Michigan to the west side of Michigan. The other one drove from Illinois to the west side of Michigan to attend a constitutional meeting where Sheriff Darleaf was. This is apparently a regular group of guys that get together, and Sheriff Darleaf is in Sheriff Mack's posse, Sheriff Mack's constitutional posse. And Tim Dever has the ability to communicate with Sheriff Mack, and he asked Sheriff Mack what he thought of Darleaf. And he said, Darleaf's a good man, but Darleaf won't do anything without talking to me. Well, they went down there to represent my position to Sheriff Darleaf as the executive emergency manager, and I'm authorizing him, expanding his jurisdiction statewide, and giving him an order to serve my lawsuits, my cases, on the county sheriffs, the sheriffs of the counties surrounding Kalkaska County. And he was to work with them and come in here and restore Kalkaska to a lawful county and a lawful sheriff's department. But Sheriff Darleaf decided he'd just be a treasonous rat. So now Tim Dever had been to his sheriff 2 years before and discovered that his sheriff was a coward. Now, the People's Bureau of Investigation is involved in much more than just the sheriff stuff. I want to make that clear. However, right now on the People's Bureau of Investigation Telegram channel, you cannot put a post there unless you are offering help. And in this briefcase over here, I have a lawsuit for the 81 remaining sheriffs and under sheriffs in Michigan. I've established the Constitutional Accountability Committee, and I have an entire program that goes with that. That can be another discussion. But Tim, with the People's Bureau of Investigation, created a document. I helped work on it in the early part. Took 2 months to develop, and it's a notice of treason, and it's quite a document. I believe it's a court of record document, and he's serving it on all sheriffs. He served it to the Sheriff's Association and demanded that it be disseminated to all sheriffs. He served it to Sheriff Mack, and Sheriff Mack refused service. Sheriff Mack has been since quite upset at Tim for exposing Sheriff Mack. Sheriff Mack is a treasonous rat. And what he's done is he's collected those sheriffs that want to be good men, lawful men, but they're trapped in this in this corporate system, and anybody that tries to fight it gets crushed. The system is all set up to crush you. They protect their own. And so now things have happened. Out in Washington State, a fellow by the name of Josh Eddy, he's done several YouTube videos with me. He served his sheriff with a notice of liability. And he's taken other action out there as well. That sheriff is the head of the Washington State Sheriff's Association. Just announced he's not running for re-election. Now, something that's very recent development is a new international court. Basically, my understanding is that's the people standing up, and this one is actually apparently with a law that's on the books that has been hidden away, is able, no need for a grand jury at this point. Citizens arrest for a whole number. And there's I would love for you to talk with Tim on this. You've actually received an email from Tim Dever with the People's Bureau of Investigation. They are looking to fund deputies and sheriffs to do the right thing. We had another incident here recently where a number of deputies overthrew their sheriff and arrested their sheriff. And we have groups here that form assemblies, form
councils.
Okay, but we call them assemblies.
Don't.
Councils.
It's a council.
All right. The reason that for this is council for law, legislative and judicial. That's the definition, the purpose of these.
Look, Ethan, let me help you out, Ethan. Let me help you out here. Let me help you out. Let me help you out here.
All right.
This is what everybody needs to understand, okay? Is that when you form your own council, which has to be a minimum of 13 people, the 12 founding fathers and the fiduciary makes 13. Everything is in 13. I've done talks on it. When you form that and you put your thoughts on paper, all the members of that council, including the council members, now can dictate your terms and conditions to the federal government, including the courthouses, the judges, and including the sheriff. So when people violate your constitution, the sheriff can go and get them. Or you can appoint one of your own sheriffs through election, through your council, to interact with the other sheriffs. And this is how the system works. But try getting 13 men and women together to agree upon something, and you'll soon find out that it takes a lot more skill than just having the imagination or the will. Because human beings are humans. They're really fucked up. I'm sorry to use the word. They're screwed up. That's why you cannot allow human beings into your councils. They have to be called men and women. Human is a word controlled by the UN building, which I banned. And since I banned it, they came up with another word called individual rights, because I banned globally human rights, because it means the right of a monster to do monstrous thing through a ritual called R-I-T-E. R-I-T-E. What I'm saying to you is very simple. Form a council, put it on paper, transfer it to the sheriff, and that actually will go into law. That's what law is, when everybody gets together and agrees upon something. That's what law is. So if this council wants to talk to this council, it bloody have a constitution. If it doesn't have it, they can't talk to each other. And the things that stand in the middle, as it were, to keep that law from being broken is called the sheriff's office. So you can interact with the sheriff by forming your council, your constitution, and then dictating your terms. This is just standard stuff on Tricks and Traps students, for my Tricks and Traps university students. You, Lethan, you and the American people need to know that they are the legislator. All of my Tricks and Traps students know that. They are the legislator. They legislate, not some half-wit in Washington, D.C. They are also the executor, not some half-wit in Washington, D.C. or some in-state. They are the judiciary, which is part of your court of record. They already understand that. This is just like, this is kindergarten stuff. But because the Americans have not gone through kindergarten training, how to actually even write a letter, they are lost. So what I'm saying to you is that what appears to be your enemy can work to your advantage. Get together, form councils, and do what you need to do. It's as simple as that.
This is what I want to talk about, what has actually happened in that realm. So for the longest time here, we've had a couple of large groups, large assembly groups that have done nothing. And I recently was introduced to a man named Sean Beller. And Sean Beller has been diligent in this effort for my understanding is a good decade. And he's picking up on some very deep investigative study of 50 years when he started. And that assembly is known as the American First Republic. The American First Republic has amended and enacted the Articles of Confederation in bilateral social compact and bilateral social compact agreement, has collectively populated the 48 contiguous states. Each state is a nation unto their own. The people of each state can and ought right form their bilateral social compact agreement. The one for Michigan is almost done. And I'm getting ready to hold the state convention where I introduce that. And 2 or more come together. I need one person to attend my state convention for it to be a successful state convention. After that, it gets published in the AFR paper. The AFR has a paper. The AFR has a post office. So there's a number of assemblies that have shot up because they've broken away from these National Assembly groups. My understanding of these National Assembly groups is they're not good. One may be Vatican backed, the other may be military backed, right? And so for Michigan, I was going to have nothing to do with it.
Yeah, just form your own. Form your own.
So one of the things that the Constitutional Accountability Committee is going to do with this lawsuit when it gets served on all 81 remaining sheriffs and they visit the other 2 sheriff's departments is to put in the lobby, assembly, join up paperwork, grand jury pool, join up paperwork, get the whole state assembled, get all the people represented, because we have the power. We are the legislators. We are the lawmakers. And the people have been put to sleep through generations. I have a Own Your Authority series, and Own Your Authority Part 6. I discussed this, and in the details or the description section is a link to click on for an 8th grade test from Salina, Kansas in the late 1800s. And that's about the time that the American Bar Association was formed. And one of their primary objectives was setting the academic standards. Well, they've done a fine job of achieving what they want for their psyops. But the people are waking up now. And this is why, a white hat to come rescue us would do us no good because the people have not awakened yet.
So
People have
look,
got to wake up.
Ethan, let me see if I can just paraphrase this correctly from what you're saying. You know, if you want to do something, you have to do it yourself. And if you can get 13 men and women around a table to agree upon something, you have accomplished something that the federal governments, the Washington, D.C. don't want ever you to do so. That's where your power is derived from. That's where my power is also derived from. I have my own council. I have my own federal postal court system. I have all the bureaucracies in place to run a nation. And I've been doing it now since 2008. The point I'm making is that you will always pick up people that you don't want in your group. So if you want it done, just get on with it yourself. And I wish you all the best. Yeah. So that's the only way to go forward, because to do anything else, to join other people's groups and they let you in, is not going to be a way forward, because you don't know who they are. And if they are willing to accept you into their group, then they don't even know who you are. Point is that the Americans need to get together to agree upon something, street by street, and that's all it is. People that won't do it, I can't answer for them. You've done certain things, and good luck to you, because you realize that you have to do it yourself. I don't involve myself with other groups, Ethan, because most of them don't know what they're talking about, and all they want to do is just question me as if they know, and realize, it's just a pathetic ego trip with these people. If you want to do this stuff, Ethan, because you've got a dog in the game, as it were. There's a dog in the fight for you. This is your livelihood. Get on with it. Yeah, which is what you're doing.
I am. And so
Don't join. If you go and join other groups, they'll screw you up. Trust me on it. Yeah.
No. We're not joining other groups. The council is absolute requirement if we're going to own our authority. The people being together in compact is essential. And so the knowledge of how to do this, let alone the fact that it's our duty and responsibility to do this, has all been kept from us with false teachings and false history. And we have been brainwashed to act as slaves and believe that we are free men.
Yes.
So now we're shining a light on the cockroaches. So I have been pushing on the sheriff is the key, because he is one man in a county. He's not surrounded like the bar attorneys with this big bar association. He's not surrounded like the legislators and they all back each other up. However, he is in America spends all their time conspiring with the enemy, a British agent, the prosecuting attorney. They're working in a fiction system, in a unlawful administrative system, and they're not doing their job. It's a maximum law.
I think your analogy is correct. Is that the sheriff is the man with the gun. You go after the man with the gun, and then they lose their power. And I think that's a good analogy. You have to corner the sheriff, put him under arrest.
So this is what needs to be done. So the fact is that these judges know what they're doing. These prosecuting attorneys know what they're doing.
They're all trained. They're all trained. They're all trained to lie, Ethan. They're all trained to lie. That's what they do. They live on the lie.
Yes, but they know that they are trespassing. They know that they're sucking the life out of us, and they know that it's all, so they are purely guilty. A lot of the sheriffs are guilty. They know what they're doing. But a lot of them that they run for that office, they want to get in and do the right thing. They're going to join Sheriff Mack's posse and become a constitutional sheriff and make a difference. And they find out that they're trapped. But they still keep making that decision every day to be a treasonous rat. So we are educating the sheriffs to let them know that we know what's going on. And if you got our back, we got your back. If you don't have our back, we're coming for you. And we are coming because we are at zero tolerance. So these truckers could be considered the most powerful political power underneath the military.
They are the American truckers, and the Canadian truckers is actually the lifeblood of virtually all transportation of commercial energy moving from point A to point B. They are quite literally the lifeblood. So they know this. They know this. And since they have upset the lorry drivers so badly, they've treated them like absolute crap, you know. So that's a foregone conclusion. What the truckers out there must not ever do is form into large assemblies, because they'll get infiltrated, and the process of disillusionment and demoralization will be put into you. Form into 2 or 3 groups and communicate with each other through the social media. That way, if they take out a unit, not all the other units are contaminated. So if you've got 100,000 truck drivers, form yourself into quite literally thousands of groups, not one large group. Because with one grenade, you can take out one entire group. You can take out all 100,000. But if you have thousands of groups made out of that 100,000 people, you'll need 100,000 or more grenades to successfully take them out. The grenade I'm talking about is psychological warfare, of course. Yeah.
Right.
Indeed. Look, Ethan. Ethan's, I beg your pardon. Nice name. I've got to go, my friend. Perhaps we can reschedule something else. I've got appointments to attend to and so on and so forth. Is there any last bits that you want to say or share with us? I'll be happy, to give that time to you.
Well, yes. I want to say that there's a new element in this dealing with the sheriffs, and that's this international court, and there's funding that is being put into place, and the People's Bureau of Investigation is now gone from putting the sheriffs on notice of treason to warning the sheriffs that there is another organization that is coming after not only the sheriffs but these other public servants. And they're bypassing the grand juries, they're bypassing the assemblies. It is handcuffs and a bus and straight to Gitmo. And so there's something that's happening here. And my message to the truckers is, don't go to the enemy land to protest the enemy. Deal with the sheriff and the coroner and the county commissioner. Deal with your councils. Create the law. Stand up and be men. Don't be afraid. That's my message.
Sounds good to me. I'll allow truckers and everybody else to make their own decisions. Want to make it very clear, I don't work with any other groups, but if any other group wants to come to me for training, they're more than welcome to do so. I always keep things small, and I create satellite groups. That way, if something happens to me, they don't disappear. You create a large spider organization as opposed to a starfish organization, they'll take you out very easily. From what I know, anybody that has funding available is usually being funded by the federal government. They have to give you the source of their wealth. My federal postal court system and all the judges, they're
using the money from going after the surety bonds to fund this. So they're attacking from both directions. And I want to say this, people are going down rabbit holes. And the surety bond is one of them. And in my opinion, it's a way to zero out the dollar faster.
I completely agree. I'm working on that project myself to actually go after their bonds and bankrupt them that way, because in their private and public capacity, they are fully liable. And that's a double whammy. That's like having a gun pointed at you at both ends of your temple. Public
Right.
and private, you are fully liable in your private and in your public capacity. Thank you very much, my friend. Fantastic
Thank you,
speaking
Mark.
to you. Thank you.
Yes,
Talk to you later.
thank you. Okay, bye now.
Bye-bye.
All right. I'll leave the Zoom.
Excellent. Talk to you later, Ethan.
Okay, thank you.